and experiences, the interaction actually goes back not only learning, but actually becoming more inquisitive and wanting to understand a little more about what this chocolate is about. We've had whiskey and we have wine, and I think this Fabelle is going to bring the revolution as far as chocolate is concerned. And when you see the interaction, and that is how the idea came about of setting up the, I'll make a mistake, Societe de Chocolat, or Society for Chocolate. I think the opportunity to explain what chocolate is about, opportunity of the whole process that it goes through, the opportunity of the differences between different origin of chocolates. And I think we have had a pretty remarkable journey. We were taking baby steps when we would call people, but I think now we have a list of people who want to participate and who want to learn about how to go about making chocolate. And I think the example of children, I think it was very interesting to see, and I think a lot of that credit goes to the Australian Master Chef. I think, in India, we all follow that, and so many new careers are coming about because young people want to learn and actually present. And in fact, we have a couple of them who've missed school today to be here, to be part of this event. And I'm sure many more would be watching this as this feed goes on Facebook Live. And of course, as we move from one city to the other. In line with our ethos of providing world-class chocolate experiences to Indian consumers, we are now very happy to host the winner of MasterChef Australia 2015, Billie McKay, as the first global mentor for Fabelle Societe de Chocolat Masterclass series. Thank you very much for being here, for working with our chocolatiers. I'm sure you have been an inspiration, and I'm sure that working with you, we will learn a few tricks, and we will make sure that our teams will be able to, the immersion experience of chocolate will come alive through the various things, because you will not be here all the time, but they will be here to carry the flag flying. So thank you very much. I think to produce an event like this has taken a lot of effort of many people, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate them for producing this event. This is the entire ITC Hotels team, the chocolatiers who have come from across the country, and the brand marketing team of ITC Foods. I'm sure this will going to be a very memorable experience for all of you, and have a great next couple of hours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to extend my warm regards to our guests, patrons, and the media gathered at this event. Fabelle was created keeping in mind a unique chocolate experience unlike any other. When someone comes to a Fabelle boutique, they're walking into a world of luxury. They're walking into a world where the senses are taken on a journey that is unforgettable. The interiors and the decor are minimalistic, yet tasteful, doing justice to the overall brand ethos. The ambience is indulgent yet peaceful, something which allows our consumers to enjoy the immersive experience as they take pleasure in the true taste of luxury without getting overwhelmed. While there is a specially curated menu at each Fabelle boutique, at the boutique, our guests can actually enjoy a range of finest chocolate creations, observe live chocolate making, interact with chocolatiers, participate in making chocolates and personalized chocolates as per their tastes. The live chocolate kitchen at Fabelle Boutique allows guests to interact with Fabelle master chocolatiers and to participate in making of their luxury experience. In such a way, the brand thus presents a unique multi-sensorial experience, which is an unconventional proposition for an Indian consumer. Fabelle chocolates have aimed to redefine the chocolate landscape in India with respect to exquisite chocolate experiences enjoyed by the consumers. Societe de Chocolat is another step that the brand has taken towards pioneering exquisite chocolate experiences. With the introduction of Societe de Chocolat, the art of chocolate making is no more restricted to a creation behind closed doors. It is an open and an interactive affair where consumers can gain valuable insights from the team of master chocolatiers who share the same passion, which is the love for fine chocolate making. It's been a few months since we did our first Societe de Chocolat class at Chocolate Boutique in ITC hotels, and the response thus far has been encouraging. Our consumers have welcomed the initiative wholeheartedly and with a lot of enthusiasm, and we only see this immersive experience growing from here on. There is no further joy than to be working with some of the best global experts and sharing this stage with Billie McKay for the launch of Societe de Chocolat is an honor. The joy of being able to explore one's passion in the art of chocolate making is unparalleled, and it is always in our interest to strive towards making our consumers a part of our journey towards excellence. With this, we hope to achieve just that. Over to you, Chef Billie and Chef Ruby.
Hello. Sorry, I just missed a couple of admin things that my team has been asking me for. The next hour or so, we have tried to make it as engaging for you as possible. If you see around your table, we have kept what we call a mood board that will take you through a journey of bean to bar completely. So please, the chefs will kind of take you through it as they go through it, but please enjoy it. Also, I know all of us before eating food, we now first click it and put it on Instagram. So we have a small hashtag for you. Kindly please tag us so that we can follow you and all. Over to Chef Billie.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Malik, Chef Ruby, Chef Yogan, and everyone who has come here today to see this really special masterclass. My name is Billie McKay. I won MasterChef Australia in 2015. Since then, it's been a huge, crazy, amazing journey for the last couple of years, from the beginning of MasterChef to where I am now. I've got to experience so many different things and see and taste so many different types of food. And coming here today and being able to share in Fabelle's launch of the Societe de Chocolat is a really, really special thing. So I've always loved cooking. My family are really, really good cooks. Well, my mum is, I know that for sure. And that's always been a huge part of my life. So sharing food with the family is really special to me. And like all of you, we all love MasterChef back home in Australia. And I guess my journey started out when the application advertisements on TV started coming about. And I wasn't so excited about applying for it because the idea of being on TV, of sort of being in front of people, was really frightening. But my partner sort of pushed me into it and started the application for me. And I'm really glad he did that now because I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for him. So one of the funny things that a lot of people don't realise is that we're actually in the MasterChef house for a good 7 months. So on TV it's only 3 months. But for 7 months we're immersed in this life of food, and you have no contact with the outside world, no phone calls, no internet. So it's all just pretty well sitting in a house, studying, cooking, talking to your contestants around you about food for that whole time. So being in an experience like that is just so educational. I learned so much during the whole thing, and winning the competition was a huge life-changing experience for me. So I did a lot of travelling after I worked at the Fat Duck with Heston, and that's sort of where my passion for sweets and passion for chocolate sort of started. Travelling around Europe and tasting all of different chocolates really intrigued me, and so my introduction here at Fabelle has been really, really exciting. Just walking into the boutique here in Bangalore, I was completely overwhelmed, first by the smell of chocolate, was amazing when you walk into the boutique. The whole set out, absolutely beautiful, much like what we are looking at today. And I think working with Chef Ruby and the other master chocolatiers to create the signature dishes that I'll be cooking today has been a really great experience. I've actually learnt a lot from them, so I have to thank you for that. And what is also really great to see, and as was mentioned earlier, was how passionate the master chocolatiers are here about chocolate. Their knowledge and passion for the subject is really inspiring, and has really helped me in creating these signature dishes and making them just that little bit better with Fabelle chocolates. Chocolate making for me and cooking with chocolate is a very enjoyable and very therapeutic experience. There's so many different ways you can use chocolate, which we'll touch on in the masterclass today, but that's something I think is really special and really a great thing about chocolate. So what they do here at Fabelle with educating people about how chocolate is made and how to use chocolate in different applications is a really inspiring thing. So I am really honoured and humbled to be here to share all of that with you today. So Chef Ruby and I want to give you a sneak peek into what the Societe de Chocolat is all about. And we have something pretty special planned for all of you, so we hope you like it. Thanks.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you for that. A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this exclusive masterclass that we're going to have today. Today we're going to take you through a journey. We like to call it magic. We're going to start off by taking you through what chocolate is, where it comes from, the various processes that are involved in the manufacturing of chocolate. And to assist you in this, in understanding it, we have organized something called a mood board on every one of your tables, as Amit mentioned earlier. All the processes that we take you through will have certain ingredients that you can touch, feel, see, taste, and understand with us when we take you through them. We also want to test your knowledge and your passion for chocolate. So we're going to have certain trivia questions that we're going to throw out. And I'm hoping that we could get some right answers. Would I get a prize? So let's start with our journey of chocolate. I'd like to draw your attention to the presentation because we're going to start with a little question. So chocolate is known as the food of the gods. Can anyone tell me what this image represents and what it holds? Anyone in the crowd can just raise your hand?
There's someone.
Oh,
there's a few.
So many. Okay.
Up the back.
Can we have a mic that's following?
That's the fruit of the cocoa tree. It's also called the cocoa bean. And the seeds are the ones that are used to make chocolate.
Perfect.
Am I right?
It is. It's the cocoa pod from the cocoa tree. So
Right.
what you can see there, it's shaped like a papaya and is pretty well the same size as a papaya. The small white beans that you can see inside the pod is what the cocoa bean is encased in. So that white pulp on the outside of the bean, that eventually is removed after fermentation, and what you're left with is what we all know and love, which is the little cocoa bean.
So the beans are removed from the cocoa pod and they undergo a process which is called fermentation. Fermentation is a natural process which brings about very important changes inside the cocoa bean because that's where the flavor of the chocolate develops. And it is also a process where the white fibrous pulp is removed from the bean. You can also see these beans that are kept on your mood boards. I'd like you all to feel it. Don't eat it yet. Just feel it. Have a look at it. See how the color of the product is, and that's after the white has been removed from the bean. So coming back, after the process of fermentation, the beans undergo a process which is called drying. Generally, it's done at temperatures about 140 to 150 degrees at for different durations. This is the process which really develops the color of the bean to a dark brown, which you associate as chocolate, and how all of us associate this dark brown color to chocolate. So that color comes from the process which is known as drying. After the fermented beans are dried, it's then broken down into smaller fragments, which is done by removing the outer skin. So the outer shell of the cocoa bean is removed, and what's left inside is broken down into smaller fragments, which is called cocoa nibs.
Thank you. So the cocoa nibs are then broken down into what we know as cocoa mass, which can then be sort of broken down further into two products called cocoa butter and cocoa powder. So we have both of those on your tasting mood boards on the table. Taste them both, taste the butter, taste the cocoa powder. It will be a little bit bitter, but I think it's nice to try it just to taste those real chocolatey notes to see where that flavour comes from.
Well, it is the purest form of chocolate that you're going to be tasting right now. So even if it's a little bitter, just try it because you're going to get the authentic flavour of chocolate.
Beautiful. What do we think? A little bit bitter? Little bit, yeah. That's great. So the processes in sort of getting to the final product of chocolate
Takes us from cocoa mass to various different processes. So the cocoa mass is then taken into three different processes, which is refining, conching, and tempering. Refining is a process where, not working? Refining is a process where these require specific equipments. And refining, conching, and tempering would be done in a factory, a layout where all of them have a specific equipment which makes it easier. Just like how ITC has one. We have a chocolate factory right here in Bangalore where we process our chocolate.
So the first step, which Chef Ruby mentioned, is refining, which is where the milk powder and sugar is added to the cocoa mass. And refining the chocolate is that first step in creating something really smooth so that your final product has a delicate mouthfeel and is very velvety.
Another essential ingredient and a process that goes into giving you that velvety feel is a process of conching. Conching is done in an equipment which is called a conch. It's very similar to a grinder, so it takes the smaller bits of what Chef mentioned in the process of refining through a duration, which allows it to be converted from particle size to a smooth paste. This happens because during the process of refining, there's a lot of heat that is generated when the product is going around and getting ground. At this point of time, the cocoa butter, which is the most delicious part of the chocolate, is released from the cocoa beans, and that gives it its smooth, velvety viscosity, which you know as molten liquid chocolate that we all like.
Yeah, and so one of the things I find is really amazing is that the chocolate here at Fabelle is conched between 12 and 24 hours, which ensures a really smooth chocolate. So there's no shortcuts taken to make sure that the products they produce are world class.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So the final step in final step in the chocolate making is tempering, which is probably one of the more temperamental and I guess, scary parts of chocolate making. So what the basic process is heating and cooling chocolate so that the structure is changed so that the end product you have is something really shiny and a bit of chocolate that snaps perfectly when you break it open. So a hard sort of a step, but a very, very important step in chocolate making.
So today we're going to take you through a live demonstration of tempering chocolate. Have any of you all tempered chocolate at home? Ever tried before?
Anyone tried tempering? Oh, a few people. How did you go? Did it work? Maybe, a bit hard. Yeah. It is difficult, and there's a lot of sort of factors that contribute to whether it's going to work or not. So temperature and time. And something I found when I've done it myself, a couple of times actually in the MasterChef kitchen during a challenge, we had to temper chocolate, and in that kitchen it can get really, really hot because everyone's using the ovens or using the stovetops. And so your room temperature is sort of not working with the tempering of the chocolate, so it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not cold enough, so it won't temper.
Yeah, so it's very difficult to do, but I think if you have a controlled environment and you're being really careful with what you're doing, then you will get good results. And it is one of those things where if you do it at home, practice it a few times and get it right, it's really rewarding because you get that final product that's really shiny, snaps perfectly, and it's really satisfying, I think.
Did you have a couple of difficulties when you were tempering? Did you find that microwave tempering was quite easy?
Yeah, we had a challenge actually during MasterChef that we had to use a microwave to temper chocolate, which isn't quite traditional.
Yeah, a lot of people think that it's not a correct method.
No, I think that if you're careful, you have to make sure you're standing over the microwave and watching the time, watching the temperature. I think it's a fine way to do it if you can, be really careful.
Yeah, those are certain important tips. When you're using chocolate and melting it in a microwave, you have to make sure that you do it only in bursts of 10 seconds and nothing more than that, because then you're eventually going to just make the chocolate burn, and you wouldn't have realized that it's just a couple of seconds and the chocolate's
very, very careful. So what temperature are we starting off here, Chef
So
Remy?
what we're doing is taking chocolate to a temperature of around 45 degrees Celsius. You don't need to melt the chocolate more than that, which includes white milk and dark varieties. 45 degrees is how much you can melt it to. So as Chef said, primarily tempering is pre-crystallization of chocolate, so you have to heat chocolate, cool it, and then heat it again. The reason why we cool the chocolate down is because it's got an essential ingredient, which is the cocoa butter, of course, and it, at a particular temperature, forms a very stable crystal lattice. That molecular structure allows the chocolate to be hard and give it a very good snap. The only reason why it's reheated again is so that you can use the viscosity of the cocoa butter of chocolate and use it in molding or garnishing and any other application that you would have. So certain essential points to keep in mind is that you use a marble top when you're tempering chocolate, and you're essentially just allowing it to cool down by moving it from one end of the table to the other. Most times, certain chocolatiers don't even need the use of a thermometer because the temperatures depend on the surface temperatures, your ambient temperatures, so they might vary. But if you'd like, you could work in a controlled environment and have chocolate melting to 45, cooling it down to 27, and then reheating it between 29 to 32, depending on white milk or dark.
Beautiful. I'm working now. I don't have to hold a microphone, so we're good. Okay.
So what I've done is just set the chocolate on the table.
And from now, you could use this as like a molding thing. You could use it to mold.
And use it. I'm going to reheat it just a little bit in the microwave.
Okay, and then you'll get it to that perfect viscosity so that you can use it to mould or to sort of, yeah, beautiful. Okay. So there are 3 basic types of chocolate, as we all know today. There's milk chocolate, which is made with the cocoa mass, milk powder, and sugar. There's dark chocolate, which is more, I guess, the pure chocolate with no milk powder added. It's really good for anyone on a lactose-free diet because there's no milk added. So it is a great one if there's anyone lactose-free. And white chocolate, which has no cocoa powder added. It's cocoa butter, milk powder, and sugar. And there is a little bit of skepticism around whether
it's pure chocolate or not.
whether white chocolate should be classified as real chocolate. But I tend to lean towards it definitely being chocolate because we use it so much these days in cooking, in desserts, and it's a really nice product. So I wouldn't discriminate and not call it chocolate.
Well, it's got the most essential ingredient, that's cocoa butter, high
Yes.
in antioxidants, and delicious.
Yeah, that's right. It's healthy enough, I would say. So on your tasting boards on the table, there are the milk, dark, and white chocolates. So taste those. See what your favourite is. See if you can taste the different notes between the dark chocolate and the milk chocolate, and again in the white chocolate. I think in Australia, our favourites started off as being milk chocolate. Yeah, but there's a bit of a shift now, and I think dark chocolate's becoming the more popular choice in that we're cooking a lot more with it, we're eating a lot more of it, and it's, just interesting to actually taste where it's come from and understand the history behind the chocolate.
I think it's the same perspective even in India. We started off with everyone loving how sweet milk chocolate is and the kind of taste that it has.
Yeah.
But over time, we've realized that the more and more you keep appreciating the pure flavor profile of cocoa, you start to move towards darker chocolates. And even in India now, a lot of people love to indulge in dark chocolates. Like I mentioned earlier, I have some of my guests who just come by to Fabelle and only want me to make like a 80% or 100%. There are so many people in the crowd there. And just want to have dark chocolates.
Yeah, that's good. The appreciation for it is growing,
Yeah.
so I think that's a great thing for well. So what is your next step here, Ruby?
So what I've done is I want you all to just have a look at the shine on this particular chocolate. If you can see.
It is very shiny. It's beautiful.
The remaining chocolate on the table has already set. Ideally, you would reheat the chocolate just to make sure that you can easily do your garnish making or molding the chocolate into a different mold, like the As You Like It cups that we have at Fabelle, and I'm sure all of you all have tasted. It is done with the same exact process where it is heated, cooled, and then heated again. So this is the chocolate that's here. A couple of tips that we'd like to share when you're tempering chocolate at home is making sure that there is no water around, otherwise your chocolate will seize.
Water, I would say, is chocolate's worst enemy.
Worst enemy.
Yeah, keep it far away from
I
chocolate.
don't think you can do anything to it once the chocolate has gotten seized with water.
No.
There's no going back to that.
No, the only thing you can do is probably eat it, and it's not as nice, but don't want to
I'm
waste
sure.
chocolate, so.
Or probably make it into a ganache or something else.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the origins of the chocolate, that's a very interesting subject, I think.
I think we've been doing a lot of talking.
We have.
I think it's time to throw a trivia question out into the crowd. So how many of y'all can answer this question for us? Which is the largest cocoa producer in the world? Show of hands, please.
I would guess it's Ecuador.
Okay, that's attempt number 1. We're not giving the answer away yet. Anyone else has? Please.
Ivory Coast.
Is it?
Yes, that is true. Ivory Coast is the right answer. About 1/3 or 30% of the world's produce comes from Ivory Coast. And very rightly, like you said, Fabelle not only uses the source of Ivory Coast, but we also use different sources such as Madagascar, Santo Domingo, and Ecuador, Venezuela, Sao Tome. And all of these different origins contribute to a very strong flavor profile of the chocolate. It's pretty similar to that of wines, where the climatic conditions, the soil fertility would contribute to the flavor profile of the chocolate. And even when we work in our kitchens, we identify the flavor profiles of one particular type and then try and create a dessert out of it. So if I would want to create something that's very bitter and has low amounts of sugar, I would want to go for a Ghana, because Ghana has very strong and bold cocoa notes. If I would want to make something which is fruity or with elements like caramel, maybe I'd want to go for a floral and fruity chocolate, like a Madagascar or a Santo Domingo. So I think with chocolates, you have woody notes, floral notes, fruity notes, and bold cocoa notes, which are the main elements that differentiate one from the other. And today we have one single origin on the mood boards for you to enjoy and experience this yourself. And we'd want to also take them through a session of pairing. But before that, Chef, which is your favorite single origin chocolate?
It's really tough actually, because I really like them all, but I really sort of like the Madagascar chocolate. I like that milder flavour of cocoa in an eating chocolate with the higher fruitier notes. So that one's actually on your board. If you taste that, I think you'll understand what that means about it being more of a mild, not too bitter, but kind of a rounded fruity flavour when you eat it. Something that's pretty interesting and pretty fun, I think, is the idea of pairing these chocolates with beverages. In particular, the Madagascar chocolate is paired with jasmine tea, which you'll be able to taste with the chocolate now. So
a couple of
you had some tips, didn't you?
Yeah, just a couple of tasting tips. When you have chocolate, don't just bite into it and eat it or swallow. Allow it to melt between your tongue and your palate. The best part about chocolate or pure couvertures is the 100% cocoa butter. I'm guessing y'all have also heard of compound chocolates and other different varieties like complex or composite chocolates. But ours are pure couvertures which have 100% cocoa butter, and that melts at body temperature. So all you need to do is just put a thin wafer of it in your mouth and just allow it to melt. And then you will experience it sort of unleash its flavor profiles.
Yeah, and if you note the shine on it too and the snap, I think that's a really good indicator
of a good chocolate.
What a great quality chocolate it actually is. And speaking of pairing chocolates with beverages, in Australia we're starting to pair red wine with chocolates, which is something that's really fun, I think, because a lot of the flavour notes are shared with the chocolates, and having them together is really, really quite interesting. So
yeah, it is an interesting concept where even in India people have started wanting to taste chocolate with beverages like whiskies and wines, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing hopefully in Fabelle one day we will also start off tasting between wine and chocolate.
No, I think that would be a great idea. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. So how are you finding the tea with the chocolate? Going all right? Beautiful.
Can anyone tell, can you experience the fruity notes of the chocolate and the mild bitterness? Of course, it's a 67.4%, so you're definitely going to get that cocoa note. But have you all been able to experience the chocolate for what it is? Would you have any questions for us that you would want us to share the answers to?
Any questions you can shoot out. We're happy to answer. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I had a quick question actually.
Yes.
Hi. So you were mentioning about the 3 types of chocolate, right? About a couple of months back, I read an article about a 4th kind of chocolate being discovered. Ironically, it's called ruby chocolate, I think. It's pink chocolate. So is it an accepted thing in the chocolate world, or was it?
It is. Okay, so Nestle invented white chocolate because they realized that you could remove the cocoa powder from a product and still make a chocolate out of it with milk powder and sugars. It's the same way where another company has done years of research to develop a chocolate which produces a cocoa mass which is slightly pinkish in color. It's a hue, it's not an addition of color to the chocolate, of course, nor is it a berry that's been added to the chocolate. It's the way the chocolate grows, and it throws a little light on what we've been talking about in terms of how climate and soil really affect the final product. This particular one has been developed, and the cocoa mass is what gives it its light pinkish color. And coincidentally, it also has slight berry notes. It's not been distributed in India yet. We haven't tasted it yet, but we soon will. So yes, it is definitely 100% chocolate product. Anything that has cocoa butter, cocoa powder, and cocoa derivatives is a chocolate.
Very good. She's an expert. I have to say. I wouldn't have been able to answer that question quite as well as that. What was that?
Well, when I get a taste of it, then Ruby shall taste Ruby and tell you.
Ah, I love it. Did anyone have any other questions?
So we've taken you through the first part, which is preparation of chocolate. So we're telling you and highlighting where chocolate grows, where the fruit comes from, like one of you rightly answered, and how it's manufactured into the bar, which has undergone processes of refining, conching, and tempering. Now we want to take you through another set of interesting facts, which is the application of this tempered bar in various different forms. If you'd allow a moment, we'd have the mood boards switched. Have your mood boards been switched so far? Not as yet? Okay. So we'll throw a little highlight to what we're going to take you through in this segment. Application of chocolate is done commercially in various forms like calids, like the application bars which we use for cooking. It is the pure bar that you would use for application in the form of a mousse or a beverage. I'm sure and know that a lot of you all have come by to Fabelle and also had a tasting of our hot chocolates. All of these hot chocolates are made with milk and the bar. So we make sure that the product is cooked well and it gives you the flavor profile of the chocolate. We also make mousses, which is chocolate that's melted into a ganache and made into a very light, aerated consistency with whipped cream. And the ganache, of course, that we talk about, which is chocolate that's cooked with butter and cream to give it a very soft, velvety mouthfeel.
Yeah, and you'll get to try that ganache on the next mood board. What I think is really special that Fabelle has done is create a ganache that's further away from what we typically know as a ganache, where it used to be just a cake covering or a cake filling. What they've done is turn it into a slab as a boxed confectionery, whereby when you eat it, it melts in your mouth. It's so velvety, really, really special. The way it's actually made ensures that the shelf life of the product is longer than a typical ganache, so you can take it home and enjoy it with family or use it as a gift to give to friends and family. It's really delicate product, but that high shelf life, I think, makes it a really great product.
Did you think that, two simple ingredients, or probably three simple ingredients like chocolate, butter, and cream would be so difficult to master?
Yeah.
Did you ever have an incident in the MasterChef kitchen where you had to make a ganache and that just went a whole different, completely opposite direction?
A lot of times. I think it was mostly working with chocolate that was quite difficult, but so interesting. Making ganaches, in particular a whipped ganache. So I made a ganache, chilled it and then whipped it, and split second in timing meant that I'd over-whipped it and had to start the whole thing again. So in a challenge atmosphere, that's quite scary. So, and the other thing we mentioned earlier with water being an enemy of chocolate, same thing with ganache. It's
But it's nice
easily
how the
ruined.
product is diverse. You can use it in so many different forms. Would you like to share with the crowd certain tips of using ganache at home, replicating it in maybe 2-3 different types of desserts or different occasions?
Yeah, well, as I said before, it was typically thought as, like a cake covering, which is a great way to use it.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, and something I like to do is actually whip the ganache. It makes a lighter area and almost like mousse that you could use in a glass. Pipe it in there with some sort of crumble, some berries, and that's an easy dinner party dessert. So loads of different ways you can use it. But enjoy that ganache that's on the mood board. I think that's a really, really...
Thank you, Chef, for those tips. I hope y'all are going to carry some of these home as well and try and whip up your own ganache. And we'll get to taste something sometime from them.
Yeah.
There is another application of chocolate that is really famous. It's in the form of a beverage. Like coincidentally, the history of chocolate traces back to chocolate being in the form of a liquid. A lot of tropical countries generally like to enjoy chocolate in the form of a cold beverage. Like cold coffee has existed the same way people like to enjoy milkshakes and cold chocolates.
Yes.
But somehow, like in the recent past, we've had a culture of even India really indulging in a good cup of hot chocolate, that reassuring cup of hot chocolate, where you just cook the chocolate at the right amount with milk, and you just get such a soothing product.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, reassuring, I think. In Australia, we drink a lot of chocolate. I think more so cold chocolate. Usually at breakfast time, which is a great way to start the day. But also late at night as well, because it's really soothing. It's a relaxing drink.
Relaxing.
Yeah. So great way to enjoy chocolate. Another application in a beverage. So.
Now we also have some sleep menus in ITC coming out, and we've incorporated suggesting hot chocolates because it just is so nice and relaxing at the end of your day.
Yeah.
So we want you to experience this hot chocolate. We have tiny espresso cups for you, not to give you too much, just give you the real taste of the chocolate. It's one of our signatures from our Fabelle menu. It's called the warm cocoa. It's got a blend of 33% Ivory Coast and a 64% Madagascar. And we've cooked it, and we want you to sip on it along with an accompanying nougat that might be on your mood boards. The nougat is primarily a confection that's made with caramelizing honey and sugar, and it gives you also the crunch of pistachio and almond. So do dip the nougat inside the drink and enjoy it.
Lovely. Okay. All right, so I think we're going to start cooking soon, aren't we?
Yeah.
Great.
I think we're going to start cooking soon.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the chocolate's already set. The place is so cool. And then,
Great. Okay.
Okay, so let's start off with our dessert. We'll give it a couple
Internet.
minutes to taste. Yeah, let them taste it.
So how is the hot chocolate? Have we tasted it yet? Good? Good? I'm sure it is.
We have
Great.
kept some bread and soda there for you to kind of cleanse your palate in between two courses, just so you can enjoy the hot chocolate better. Chefs, would you like to have some hot chocolate yourselves?
Oh, we love to. We
Sure.
always want to have hot chocolate.
You just set it up.
If you want to cleanse your palate, you can use the baguettes, of course. So far, we've taken you through two sections of what we really wanted to project, which was application along with preparation. But now we're going to get into the really exciting part, where I have Chef Billie McKay, who has just created one of Australia's iconic desserts for Fabelle at ITC Gardenia, and reinvented it using Fabelle chocolates. And her inspiration behind all the memories from where she actually thought of this dessert is something that I'd love to highlight. So over to you, Chef.
Thank you, Chef. In Australia, we love our desserts. I especially love desserts. I'm a big sweet tooth, so something very special to me. Today, I'm recreating an iconic Australian dessert. Another trivia question to the audience. Up on your screens, can anyone identify what that dessert is? Close. Close. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, no prizes for you. That's a wrong answer. You were close.
It's close. Close again. Yeah, that's right. It does look good, doesn't it? But this is an ice cream sandwich, so pretty close to what we were all saying. The history, I guess, of this dessert for me was really special, actually. Growing up in Australia, summers, my mum would make chocolate biscuits, and we'd together with ice cream, and therefore creating the ice cream sandwich, which was a great sort of summer afternoon snack as kids, and even into adulthood. I still really enjoy them because it's a great dessert. The great thing about working with Fabelle in recreating this dish is that making it better with great products like Fabelle chocolates has been something that's been so much fun. And we've managed to create a dessert that I think is really fantastic and really heroing chocolate, which is what Fabelle is known for. Their desserts are all centred around chocolate, and that sort of contributes to the great texture, the great taste, and all the great layers that you'll find in their desserts. So what we're doing today in recreating this dessert is using a chocolate macaron. Inside, we're doing a semi-freddo and a few other elements that we'll take you through later. But the first thing that we're going to demonstrate for you today is the making of the semi-freddo. So a semi-freddo is essentially, it roughly translates to half frozen. So it's like a chocolate mousse that's been frozen. So where an ice cream is a little bit lighter, semi-freddo has that more rich, really smooth texture, and I think goes really well in an ice cream sandwich. So the first thing that we do is whisk eggs and sugar to create a sabayon. So I'll start doing that over a saucepan of simmering water, and what you're looking for is just the thick ribbon, almost meringue shape in the sabayon. So we'll get whisking and see how we go with getting this. I actually made ice cream sandwiches in MasterChef. I think we might have a picture. Yeah, that's the picture up on your screen now, actually. The challenge, I'll talk you through the challenge, which was quite a scary one, actually. I nearly got eliminated. So a half an hour challenge, and we had to use chocolate. And so I thought that I had to do something, really push myself really hard to try and put something up that, saved me and didn't make me go home. So what I did was I made a chocolate semi-freddo, and I made walnut biscuits and made those into ice cream sandwiches. And about the 29th minute of that 30-minute challenge, I went to the freezer and looked at my semi-freddo, and the outside was set, but the middle was still runny. So I sort of freaked out and thought, what will I do now? So
how'd you cover that up?
Well, I had actually made a really quick ganache in making the semi-freddo, so I had a little bit left over. So what I did was scooped the inside out of the frozen semi-freddo and got rid of the evidence that was and I put the ganache on the inside. So that actually helped me out because they really liked the surprise of that chocolate filling on the inside of the ice cream sandwich. So, yeah, a great challenge. I'll never forget that one. It was, really exciting.
So, Chef, that's quite an innovative way to use the semi-freddo to have a ganache filling inside. Are there any other ways that you would want to suggest how you could reuse a semi-freddo, maybe for a different occasion at home again? Yeah,
well, I think it lends itself so well to desserts, semi-freddo, because it's a quick way to make an ice cream, and you can add so many different flavours. Obviously, chocolate would be my favourite. Yeah. In a dinner party setting, or even just for dessert at home, the ice cream sandwich is a great way with biscuits that you've made or biscuits that you buy. Using the glass as well. I really like setting it in either a bowl, just even like something like this, setting the semi-freddo in the bottom of a bowl, the bottom of a glass, and adding toppings to it is a quick way to sort of entertain for dessert. So lots of little ways you can use the semi-freddo.
That's good.
Yeah, so what we're looking for here is for the sabayon to sort of start building in body, cook a little bit so that you get the cooked egg and ready to fold through our meringue, whipped cream and chocolate ganache. So one of the careful things that I've got to be, really onto here is making sure I don't overheat the mixture, because what you'd get is a curdled sabayon, and it's not going to work if we get it curdled. So I've got to be very careful here in doing this. And what we're going to do is add a ganache to this semi-freddo. It's the 70% Saint-Domingue chocolate, which is again pretty high in cocoa, but still has those fruitier notes, which I think lends itself really well to the semi-freddo. So
it's got its own character there.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
nice.
Okay, we'll turn that off now. And it's looking pretty good, so we'll start doing that. So the other elements of the dessert, Chef Ruby, did you want to take them through the other elements of the dessert?
So the dessert has a semi-freddo, which is the Santo Domingo. It was chef's inspiration to have given the ice cream sandwich a little twist and use a macaroon. So we have an element of the macaroon on this dessert, and that is a chocolate macaroon, of course. We also have other refreshing elements such as an apple and cucumber jelly, which continue and help you experience the flavor profile of the Santo Domingo, which is so light and fruity in itself, and that carries that forward. We also have a pistachio sponge, which adds a little bit of moisture and cakiness to your dessert. And we'll also have a ganache, which is going to be filled inside a choux pastry. A choux pastry is something that is also going to add a little more crunch to your dessert. It's typically made by a batter of water, sugar, salt, butter, flour, and eggs that's cooked, then piped onto the tray and baked along with a biscuit crust on top. So it's got a crunchy outside and a soft inside, and that's going to be filled with a ganache, which we will also want to demonstrate for you right after this.
Beautiful.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, so we've got it nice and thick now. And the next sort of step is to start folding through the ganache.
Can I pour it over?
Yeah, I think we can do this together. Let's put that in and
so this
fold
is a
that
ganache.
together. Looks beautiful. It smells really good too. You can sort of smell the fruity notes in it. I think that's a great thing about using this really good chocolate. It's really good quality. So we'll fold that through. And while you're doing that, I guess the importance of folding this through really lightly and quickly sort of results in a really soft and smooth semi-freddo at the end. So we'll get that through. The other things we add to this is whipped cream and an Italian meringue. A little bit more trivia, do we think, maybe?
Yeah.
Does anyone know the difference between a French and an Italian meringue? Anyone? No? Ruby, I think you're really good at explaining this.
French and an Italian meringue. No answers? No, actually no answers.
Nope.
No answers. Okay. Well, an Italian meringue is made with a sugar syrup that goes into the egg whites while they're whipping, whereas a French meringue is just the egg whites along with icing sugar. And the reason why the Italian meringue is a little more preferred for intricate products like a macaroon or even other delicate products which need to be shelf stable is because with the sugar syrup, a meringue is much more stable. So
Lovely.
the chewiness of the macaroons really comes from that Italian meringue.
And that's what we've used here with the semi-freddo as well, because it's just that more stable sort of a meringue. Okay. Will I fold that through for you, Chef Ruby? Lovely. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So we're nearly getting there. I think we're nearly up to the plating section, which I think is the most exciting part of this dessert, because when you see it, it looks really beautiful. It's ice cream sandwich, but totally reinvented, totally changed using beautiful Fabelle chocolates, and I think you'll really all like it. So Okay, we're going to taste this?
No, I think we should have a go at this.
Sure, I think we'll get the cream in there and then taste and...
So what chef is essentially doing here is folding the product. Just remember, when you're making anything with products that are whipped, like a meringue or whipped cream, you've invested quite a good amount of time in trying to get the light, airy fluffiness of the product. You don't want to flatten it down by just mixing it in. You have to delicately fold in the product so the air bubbles still make the product nice and light. The semi-ferro is also on your mood boards. There is a part which mentions the semi-ferro, and you can try it because it's nice and light and also decadent because of the chocolate that's used. Wow, that looks really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a very relaxing process doing this too. Working with chocolate, it's very therapeutic. Plus it tastes really good, so I think that's probably half the reason. Okay, shall we taste that now?
Yeah, I think
so. I'll get myself a spoon too. All right. While everyone's tasting their semi-freddo, we can taste the mixture. Okay. It's good.
Oh, that's so light.
It's good. It is so light. And as I said earlier, the flavour of that chocolate in that is just next to nothing. It's so special. Wow. So special. So I think we can probably put it together now, can't we? And show everyone sort of what we've made. So let's get this happening. Okay. So with the plating of this dessert, I think the white plate that we've chosen to use is pretty important in that it brings out all the colours in what we've made. So you'll get to see that soon. You'll have a plate on the table and you'll get to see what we've made. So are we starting with the chocolate?
Yes.
Okay. Over here. All right then. Shall we do this together?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do two.
We have to move this one. Yeah. We can move that there, I think.
Okay. We just do one.
Yeah. We have some chocolate.
Okay. Yep. So we have the berries and the pistachio sponge.
Take all of it out.
We get those out. Okay. Great. Okay, is everyone enjoying the chocolate? Do we try the semi-freddo? Yeah, it's good. Rich. It's quite rich, but it's nice, isn't it? I think the fruity notes in it kind of balances it out. So you could probably eat a lot of it and not get too sick, I think. Yeah, it's lovely. Alrighty, we're ready to go?
We just have a little bit of chocolate to melt, and then we're ready to go.
Yep, that looks great. So we use that, okay. We'll just use that. Okay. All right. Looks good. Shall we? Great. All right. Okay. So I think you'll be able to see as we're plating this, which is great, be able to see it all sort of come together. It's not sort of traditionally served as an ice cream sandwich would be served, so it's a little bit more reinvented, a little bit more nice, I think, more as a plated dessert rather than the ice cream sandwich.
Cream for ganache. Cream for ganache. Cream for ganache.
Ready?
Cream for ganache.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Just a couple of more components.
Do one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take out the
Ready?
semi-freddo.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is just scraping chocolate across the plate. This is tempered chocolate, so it's going to set on the plate and sort of be a great element in the whole sort of shape of the dish. Scrape that across.
Looks yum.
It does look yum, doesn't it? Okay. Looking good. And the macaron, would you like to place it on?
Yes.
Okay. Lovely.
So this is one shell of the macaron, and it's going to have a garnish that's going to go under it. But just to add a little softness also to the crunchy macaron, we have an apple gel.
So something that is not really traditionally paired with chocolate is apple. But I think you'll find...
Cucumber.
And cucumber. I think you'll find it's really, really interesting. It contrasts well with the flavour of the chocolate. Again, I think because the chocolate has that fruity note. When you pair it with something like apple or cucumber, it's really fresh and, yeah, really, really interesting. So taste that when you get the dessert to try and yeah, you'll sort of see those connections between the chocolate flavours and the flavours of the fruit.
And I think it sort of makes it a lot of fun as well.
The what, sorry? These from the judge? No, they're not. No, I never
From
got it
Fabelle at ITC Gardenia.
These are Fabelle tweezers, but no,
So that's the semi-ferro that we have placed on the dessert. Sorry.
Okay, so the next thing we're putting on
is the pistachio sponge.
Pistachio sponge. Now this is really interesting how it's made in the microwave.
Yes, this is, it's really interesting how you can use different kinds of tools in your kitchen to sort of continuously developing your product. The idea of a sponge would be to have it nice and moist and fluffy. So this particular recipe works out really well even as a garnish and a flavoring to your dessert, because into an espuma, which is charged with nitrogen and put it into the microwave for about 10-20 seconds, and you have a microwave. You have a sponge. Yeah, you have a cake.
It's a really cool way of making sponge, I think, and it does look great as a garnish.
And it's made with pure pistachio paste to give a flavoring, but you could do any sort of flavors at home. You have to be careful not to use in too much of liquid, of course, but it works beautiful with hazelnut as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So we've also got the semi-Fredo in a little mould form here, which goes on the plate as well, just to have a little extra semi-Fredo on the plate, because we don't think the quenelle is quite enough. You need a little bit more. So we'll put that on. Okay. Now the choux bun's really interesting too, I think. It's got that crunchy edge on it, which is a great sort of reference in an ice cream sandwich to the crunch of the biscuit. So where the macaron's a little bit softer than a traditional ice cream sandwich cookie, the choux bun, I think, adds to that crunch.
Crunchiness.
Yeah,
yes,
so
perfect.
you're still getting the ideas of an ice cream sandwich in the dessert. So.
And this particular choux has been filled with a ganache. I think your mood boards would have those tasters already, and you would have tasted the ganache that's inside. We've again used a single origin Santo Domingo 70% chocolate for this as well. And I think we're nearly there. We're almost at the end of our plating.
Looking beautiful. So
certain elements.
Now it's just sort of making it fancy, isn't it? So putting the berries and putting the beautiful little flowers that you've got on there as well. So let's put these on. It's beautiful. This is white chocolate, this tempered disc.
Yes,
so
this tempered disc is white chocolate. We have a little more apple gel. And the only one element that's remaining in this is the apple and cucumber jelly.
Beautiful.
Just get that.
Okay, so I'll start decorating it, which is probably my favourite part actually of cooking, is plating up everything. It's another sort of story about the MasterChef kitchen in plating up your dish when the time's running out. You've really got to leave yourself a couple of minutes, because sort of like we're doing now, we're just doing this sort of kind of cruisy and we're not in any rush, but when you're in that challenge atmosphere,
you just have to do it all in one go.
Yeah, and it can sometimes end up looking a little bit a little bit rushed, but if you do allow yourself those, extra minutes, then it's very much worth it in the end.
No, but that looks amazing itself. Was that a last minute thing?
That was a last minute thing.
Wow.
That was right down the ice cream sandwich. These were the ones in MasterChef, right down to the last second.
And that's also the one that saved you from the elimination, wasn't it?
It did.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was very lucky that day. Very lucky.
I'm so tempted to eat some now.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll have to make some for you.
That would be fun.
Okay, well, it's starting
So,
to look
apple?
beautiful. Yeah, let's put the apple jelly on and finish it with the berries, and then I think we're ready to taste it after that. Which will be great. Okay. Yes, looking great.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
It looks beautiful. All right. That's it.
We also have some berries which add to your fruity textures and taste for the Santo Domingo chocolate. So I guess you all can see it on your screens and also have it individually on your plates. That's the finished dessert, which was completely inspired by Chef's ice cream sandwich. Keeping in mind the textures, the gooiness of the chocolate that you want, of the ice cream that you want inside, the biscuits. We have recreated this using macaroon, which has crunchy outside and soft gooey textures inside. The same with the choux, and I think the semi-fero at its best is just so decadent and delicious that it goes so well with the entire dessert.
Yeah, I agree. No, well, thank you so much for watching. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dad.
Thank you.
This is amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
So lunch will be served outside. We have a photo booth. We have a photo booth set up outside for you to take photographs of the dessert. It's a properly lit photo booth. I hope that your journey of becoming a chocolate connoisseur starts from today. We also have a station where you can make your own chocolate cups. Now that you have become chocolatiers, why don't you try your hand at making chocolate cups? We will be all to meet Billie and to take photographs. We have set up a separate session to which our PR team Shreya and Sharmishta can do. And if anybody would like to have any questions, queries, we have the chefs with us for a wee bit more. So any questions, queries, obviously the best question gets a prize. So
we'd also like to end on a note that this is just the beginning. We at Fabelle have an open kitchen, and so far you all have known that everything happens in front of guests, so people can actually see, smell, taste, and understand, and throw questions at the chefs when they're working. So this is, I think, the instigator, where we want to be able to share our knowledge, but it doesn't stop there. Continue your creativity, go wild at home, and just evoke that chocolatier in you. Have fun, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.